Ik sta hier in hartje Seattle, want ik ben uitgenodigd door Impossible Object, een indie studio. En zij gaan mij iets heel bijzonders laten zien. Dus ik ben benieuwd.
Ik ben hier te gast bij twee gasten die een Kickstarter project zijn begonnen. Een virtual reality Kickstarter project. Een van die gasten die woont hier zelfs. Het is niet een studio, het is echt zijn huis. En hier om me heen staat een setje van pak een beetje $14.000. Waarmee ik een motion capturen. En dat is ook een beetje het idee van deze game. Iemand speelt monster of reus. En de andere mensen kunnen straks online die reus proberen kapot te schieten. Het is een Kickstarter project. Het is net begonnen. Dus als je even naar een site gaat, kan je gewoon lekker pledgen natuurlijk. Doe het zelf, want ik vind het heel erg tof wat ze bedacht hebben. En ik heb net even rondgekeken. En dit zijn wel echt gasten die er gewoon heel erg mee bezig zijn. Ze gaven al aan van nu hebben we alle twee gewoon een normale baan. Dit doen ze echt in het weekend, in de avonduren. Maar ze hebben wel echt heel veel toffe dingen liggen. Kijk, hier bijvoorbeeld de Oculus Rift, maar ik zag ook al het prototype controller van de Steam Machine. Dus dit zijn wel gasten die echt met de toekomst bezig zijn. Ik ga zo eventjes hun demo spelen. En we vroegen net al af van dat moet wel heel goed voelen. Natuurlijk voelt het niet heel goed, want het moet nog afgemaakt worden. Daarom ook dit Kickstarter project. Hun zijn ermee begonnen. Ze hebben $50.000 nodig. Als dat binnen een bepaalde tijd binnen is, kunnen ze gewoon weer verder aan dit project. En ik vind het ambitieus. Tenminste, dat vond ik voordat ik hier kwam. Ik had echt zo van, hoe kan dat, weet je wel, in je eigen huis zoiets maken. Maar als ik hier nou sta, heb ik zo van, dit zijn wel gasten die weten wat er aan de hand is. Dit zijn echt gasten die weten wat er speelt. En ik sta hier toch maar zomaar. Dit heb ik bij mij om de hoek, bij mijn vrienden nog niet gezien, zo'n opstellingje. Dus we gaan even wachten. We gaan straks even de demo spelen.
My name is Forest Gibson, and I'm the co-founder of Impossible Object. We're making Giant versus Horde.
I'm Jared Cheshier, co-founder of Impossible Object. So my role is I work on a lot of the development as well as the concepts and experiment with what works and what doesn't work in virtual reality.
So we're a small company right now. We're primarily two guys who are making games, so indie developers. And we are really interested in the virtual reality and motion-controlled gaming space.
I used to work at Valve Software. Other folks that are involved in the project also have game studio backgrounds, so we have folks that have shipped games, and we've worked on games in the past.
We still are working day jobs. This is a passion project to start. Much like most startups, you can't just quit your job and start on a project until you're ready, until you're funded. So we are developing this. We are hoping to get more traction and get more support. And it's a lot of work. I mean, it's most nights and pretty much all weekends developing. It's an asymmetrical, event-based VR game. So players who are able to get into little ships and fight against a massive giant, kind of in the era of Star Fox boss battles. But the giant is controlled by a person in real time using just their body. The giant doesn't have any controllers. All of their abilities are either gesture-based or actually be on body UI. So they'll be able to press buttons, but they'll be actually physically on their body. We've been in early development for about a year. We've really gotten running in the last 4 months because that's when we invested in the cameras. So I have a lot of experience working on Kickstarter already. I helped launch the Arcid Space Telescope, which was the world's first crowd-funded satellite space telescope. I also worked on the Pico Bruzymatic, which is the world's first fully automatic all-grain beer brewing appliance. And so I've launched several of these Kickstarter campaigns, and it's a great way to not only get funding, but get people's eyes on the project and give them a way to participate. A lot of times when you say, I'm working on this project, the first question people say is, how can I help you?
What we're providing our backers is 12 events So we're producing 12 events in which you get to participate with someone playing a giant in virtual reality. So before launching the Kickstarter, we made sure that we could solve the problems of networking, of being able to have full body motion capture data streamed to a ton of players in Unity, to have an interesting concept for a game in which people can fly ships around and giants can battle them. And so we've compartmentalized what backers are really going to be getting, which is 12 events that they're going to have a lot of fun at. And we think that we're going to be able to deliver that without any issues. We also have a lot of advisors and partners and technology lined up to be able to use that's tried and true and tested. So the things that are experimental in our project is the concept. And the things that we're using, we're really relying on established technology to be able to do what we're doing.
So we're being really realistic about what we're offering. We're not saying we're making this huge world with all these things and all these levels. We are experimental, and we're promising that we will have people to play with and a really fun, novel experience to fight a giant in this arena. The idea came from the fact that motion controlled and virtual reality gaming is really exciting, and I think it's the future of gaming, but it's just not ready for consumers yet. The technology doesn't exist for consumers. So we wanted to make an experience where anyone could log on and participate in a game and see someone else playing in this experience. And eventually, we want to have internet personalities, celebrities who are playing as these giants. So a way to interact with them and to play with your favorite celebrity.
So we're really excited about making a game for VR first and foremost. We want to make an experience that's super fun for the Horde members, for the giant. If people are interested, we feel like that there's ways to add value to a game while making it profitable in the same time. You're not going to see things like you see in mobile games or anything like that, where you just pay more to play for a period of time. We think that there's ways to add value and simultaneously be able to make money from games.
So we have two different approaches that we're working on. The first one is that it's event-based. So much like going to a concert to see your favorite musician, people will be logging in and playing Giant versus Horde to fight against their favorite professional video gamer, internet personality, or celebrity. So that's where we're starting. It means that we can be more iterative, we can experiment, we can develop. We can essentially roll out a whole new update to the game on every event. But as time goes on and as motion capture technology gets cheaper, more and more people will be able to host their own games. So technologies like the STEM controller or the 6sense STEM controller or the Prio VR controller allow you to do full body. And so people will be able to host their own games, and eventually we'll have matches running nonstop. So I think now is the time that virtual reality is coming back in a serious and real way. Oculus, and especially with the acquisition by Facebook, has shown that the technology is there. A lot of it was driven by mobile phones. We kept trying to pack more and more computing power, and especially larger displays. I mean, look at people's phones these days. They're huge, they're super high def. I mean, my phone has a higher resolution screen than my computer did 5 years ago. And it's that advancement that has made it the time. Also, gyroscopes, accelerometers, these were all of the things that we needed to fix VR that the phone industry solved for us. So this trend has happened time and time again with technology. 20 or 30 years ago, people were talking about smartwatches and how crazy and awesome they're going to be, and major companies made smartwatches, and those totally flopped. But now the Pebble has come back and is the most successful Kickstarter campaign of all time. So people get excited when the technology first becomes possible, and then it actually takes sometimes multiple decades, 20 years, to become something that people can start getting their hands on and using. I mean, computers were supposed to be the future for a long time until the personal computer became available. Unity is a platform that allows us to rapidly prototype and rapidly develop. It's easy to get into. And so especially as indie developers, we're just kind of getting started in this arena. But at the same time, the pricing model is also a lot more friendly. Engines like Unreal take not only a large upfront cost, but they also have percentage based on everything you make. And so Unity is very friendly to that. On top of that, Unity has an asset store in which you can go and purchase assets to put into your game. So instead of paying a designer thousands of dollars to make a building, you just go to the asset store and buy a building. And so it makes the ability to get your game out there faster even easier.
A big pro of Unity is that it's portable to a lot of different types of devices. So it runs well on Linux and OS X and Windows. It even runs well on mobile. Most platforms can run Unity. So that's really interesting for us when we want to create an experience that as many people can play as possible as part of the Horde. That's a huge plus. One drawback is that Unity runs in a virtual machine, and also some libraries aren't immediately available for it. So the pros far outweigh the cons for us in what we're trying to do. There's also a lot of tools that are available for developers in Unity. So really, if you're looking for prototypes, if you're looking for assets, and you're looking to mock something up quickly, you can go grab assets out of the asset store and produce something that can test your hypothesis about what you think is interesting in VR, and that's something that we do a lot.
So what's really interesting is that Unity has been growing and getting more traction. And because of Unity, we've seen engines like Unreal and the CryEngine changing their pricing model and making it into a low monthly subscription. And they're trying to compete because the accessibility of Unity has really been changing the way a lot of game developers have been working. We saw the same thing happen. I've done a lot of things in video editing and video production in the past. We saw the exact same thing happen before, where you had the very expensive proprietary tech, systems for editing video, and then Final Cut Pro came around, and anyone can kind of pick up Final Cut Pro and start using it. And then Adobe Premiere kind of started becoming big and all these other things. So we see the same thing happening with game engines.
The biggest obstacle right now is getting an understanding of what people know about our campaign. So there's a lot of firsts in our project. So it's an asymmetrical game, and there's an explanation that needs to go into what that means, as well as it's event-based, which means that it only takes place 12 times. It happens at scheduled events, and it's something that you don't get to play, at least at first, all the time. So the biggest challenge for us has been educating folks on exactly what it is we're trying to do. But in the same token, we want to get feedback from people during the campaign so that we can address it. The big benefit of using Kickstarter is not only raising money for a project, but establishing a community and listening to that community. So we feel pretty strongly about that. We've got some announcements to make with some of the feedback that people have provided.
I think the thing we're most proud of is the connection of all these different technologies in a new and innovative way. So we have connected a lot of off-the-shelf technology to make a new experience. And a lot of major innovations haven't come out of some brand new, built from the ground up thing. It's a connection of things that are developing and coming together. So we're proud that we've taken all those things together and made them into something new.
Ik ben net gestapt uit de virtuele wereld van de meteorieten. Wat ik zag, en het is wederom moeilijk uitleggen, want jullie hebben waarschijnlijk alleen de B-roll gezien. Maar wat ik zag was dat ik meteen het idee had dat ik midden in space zat. Ik werd omringd door honderden meteorieten. Ik zag een planeetje in de verte. Ik stond op een vlak, een blauw vlak. En het grappige was, als ik naar het einde van het vlak liep, kon ik ook echt meteorieten onder me zien. Waardoor ik heel erg het gevoel van diepte en hoogte kreeg. Ik had zelfs een beetje het gevoel van hoogtevrees. Wat je wel eens hebt in een achtbaan als je heel hoog zit, of in een reuzenrad bijvoorbeeld. Het werkte best wel goed. Vooral de benen. De benen kon ik echt heel makkelijk de meteorieten mee wegtrappen. De handen was wat moeilijker. Die gingen af en toe nog wat dubbel en het contact was wat minder. We gaven al aan van, dat komt echt puur door het aantal camera's wat er omheen hangt. Nou, dan moet je denken dat bij een grote studio qua camera's, we zijn bijvoorbeeld een Bungie geweest, hebben ze 34 hangen. Nou, hier maar 8. En dat werkte eigenlijk al best wel lekker. Daarnaast was het natuurlijk een demo. Want ze zijn echt bezig met een idee dat je aangevallen wordt door vliegtuigen die je weg moet gaan slaan. En ja, ik heb er één keer gewoon heel erg vertrouwen in. Want ik was gewoon met meteorieten bezig. Nou, waarom kunnen dat straks geen vliegtuigen zijn die overvliegen, lopen te schieten? Daarnaast wilden ze bijvoorbeeld ook zorgen dat je straks laserstralen kan schieten uit je handen. Nou, dat voelde allemaal heel goed. Maar wat ik gewoon heel erg had, is dat je gewoon echt, je hebt echt het idee dat je zelf in die wereld staat. En dat zag ik vooral toen ze zeiden van kijk even onder je voeten. Ik deed dit en ik zag mijn voetzolen. Wat ik nou wel merk in één keer nu ik dit doe, is dat het een stuk makkelijker is dan dat je die bril op je kop hebt. Je bent een soort van beetje bangig dat je aan het vallen bent, dat soort dingen. Dus nee, ik ben best wel onder de indruk eigenlijk. En dat alles gemaakt met de engine Unity. Ja, het zag er gewoon best wel leuk uit ook wel. Ik dacht eigenlijk dat we echt alleen maar blokken gingen slaan. Zeker omdat ze een paar dagen geleden toen ik die jongens ontmoette zeiden van ja, wij zijn geen ontwerper van mooie skins of zo, wij maken een game. Dus in feite zorgen wij dat er blokken zijn die gewoon goed bewegen om elkaar heen. Nou, dat idee had ik hier helemaal niet. Ik zag gewoon leuk die meteorieten en alles, het schopte werkte. Ja, ik denk dat dit absoluut een project is wat levensvatbaar is. En ik ga het pak weer uittrekken. Ik ben wel, moet ik heel eerlijk zeggen, voor het eerst een beetje misselijk.